Hi, everybody. I'm Scott, and thanks for joining us again today for another episode of the In Medicine and On Medicine podcast. This is Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Susan is an Oriental medicine doctor and East Asian medical practitioner here in the Las Vegas, Nevada Valley. Her information comes across the screen every so often. If you want to get in touch with her, make an appointment, do something other than just hit the casinos when you're here in Vegas if you're visiting, you'll see that information come across. Also, you may post any questions or comments in the comments section below, and if we need to get your answers on something, we will seek to do so. Hi, Leo. Today, you need this with your teeth, but not your face. Today, we're going to talk about, I walk around town here all the time, and it's like turned into LA here. It looks like everybody has had some sort of plastic surgery procedure and whatnot, and I won't get into what I think about it or how it looks or whatnot. But to me, it's just, Susan, another surgery. Like, can we not do that? And so what I want to talk about today is you have this amazing procedure that you're one of the few in your industry trained in that is basically what? An acupuncture facelift? What do you call it?
Yeah, so back when I was in school, my Chinese professor said that, yes, of course, how silly, of course we can do a facelift with acupuncture only. And then I had a professor, Dr. Su, who was a dermatologist, and he performed this procedure. And honestly, none of us, we all kind of looked at each other and said, what is he doing? Like, I mean, it didn't seem to work at all, okay? But then this woman visited the school. Virginia Duran was her name, and she was like the acupuncturist to the stars in New York. And she'd been practicing for a long time, and I believe she practiced in the office of a dermatologist. And anyway, she had worked out her own facelift procedure because she was the acupuncturist to the stars. And so she had a lot of patients who wanted to look their best, but didn't necessarily want to go under the knife. And so she developed this extremely unusual, really unique procedure, very unlike any acupuncture I was learning at the time.
Wow.
And then she did a demonstration on a woman who was in my class, whose name I don't remember, but who was probably, let's see, she was probably 55, 56,
Okay.
something like that. So Virginia performed this procedure, which none of us had ever seen before. And when the patient, when the procedure was finished and the patient got up, everyone in the room, and there must have been 30 or 40 people in the room, everybody gasped.
Wow.
And just went, whoa.
So it was totally noticeable.
Totally noticeable right from the first time. And it was really a shock. And so the way that this procedure, so we were all pretty impressed. So
in what ways was it different than anything you'd seen acupuncture-wise before?
It's absolutely completely different.
Okay.
It bears no response. I mean, that's not exactly true. The needles that she uses on the face, and the needles that she uses on the body, are regular acupuncture. Okay, she's activating the channels that basically go all through here. Okay. But the procedure that she figured out on the face is completely different. And so, needless to say, we all took her class, right? And then I actually followed up and took another class with her on essential oils, which was also really, really fascinating for facelifts. I still have all the original information, and I probably took the class 25 years ago.
Okay, so give us a little education on the skin in Chinese medicine and how you look at the skin and the facial skin and wrinkles and all that fun stuff.
Well, in traditional Chinese medicine, the skin is considered an organ associated with the lungs.
Okay.
That because the lungs and the skin are both exposed to the air, they have an intimate relationship with each other. And so often if we're working on skin problems like, dermatitis or eczema or something like that, it ends up being a lung problem for us. As well as, and so yes, we have procedures where we work topically on the skin, but usually it's kind of what happens on the skin is usually a manifestation of what's going on inside. So we usually work on the inside, and that fixes the problems on the outside,
Gotcha.
sort of. But what Virginia did was she had kind of an unique perspective at the time, because wrinkles, of which now I have many, like I
Join
wish
the club, honey.
one of my students, I mean, I've taught several people how to do this procedure, and you think one of them would do it on me, but no, of course not. So Virginia Duran had this really unusual perspective, whereas most people consider wrinkles associated with aging as being a collagen deficiency. She said, no, I don't think so. I think it's more of a collagen excess.
Meaning what?
Meaning that, like, the wrinkle, the crevice, okay, yes, there's a collagen deficiency, but on either side of that crevice, there's a collagen excess. So her whole her whole attitude was, let's redistribute it back into the middle, so that the wrinkle, which is like a crevice, will fill in from the bottom up. Okay. And nobody had ever done that before, I don't think.
Is there any real basis in traditional Chinese medicine for this, or like?
Well,
what
yes.
what has she created it on the back of?
Well, other than what we believe as acupuncturists is that acupuncture is an energetic medicine. That if we move the energy, then the physical will follow.
Okay.
Right, and that is something that happens in acupuncture like all the time. So she just created like a little microcosm of that, and so so it was really amazing. Now this was 25 years ago, so there are other people that have done other facial cosmetic acupuncture protocols. I'm not familiar with them. Virginia's has always worked very well for me, and I had no interest in really looking at anything else.
So tell me how it works and what's involved and how long and how many treatments and are you dealing with side effects like in surgery? I mean,
no. See, that's the thing. So cosmetic, surgical cosmetic procedures don't last forever.
Okay.
Right? Then people have to go back and have them done or have something changed or whatever. And acupuncture facelifts are the same way. They last for 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
And then you have to go back in and do a touch-up. So there's a couple of things. She has body points that open up the channels of the face and also treat whatever underlying constitutional issues that the patient might have. And then she uses, and we should put a picture up here, she uses these little tiny needles that are, I use two varieties. I use a 6 millimeter needle and a 4 millimeter needle. Okay. So really small,
and
small.
And compared to like, what's the size of the needle you put in our arms and legs and everything?
An inch and a half, 2 inches.
Oh, okay, so it's really small.
Really tiny. And they're so tiny that you have to really insert them with tweezers.
Okay. Oh,
so
wow.
You need to invest in a really good pair of tweezers, okay, of which there are. I'm not that they're a sponsor of the podcast or anything, but Tweezer Man, they're the best.
Medical quality.
They are
tweezers,
they are
okay.
excellent tweezers. They're not medical really. They're estheticians use them, right? So, but they're really nice. So anyway, so she does all of that, and then so she does the body points, okay, and she's got like an order that she prefers, and then the second part is kind of is a little bit crazy, and it usually kind of freaks people out, but it doesn't hurt or anything. It's just kind of interesting, where we actually take the skin of the face and we pull it up onto the top of the head.
Oh, how far? As far as it'll go?
As far as it'll go.
Okay.
And there's a way of doing it, and you need a lot of hand strength. It doesn't hurt the person. It actually kind of feels like a massage, sort of. It feels kind of good, but you definitely like pull it all up and then pin it there.
Oh,
I know. It sounds crazy. So that's the second part.
Still, it's better than anesthesia and surgery. So.
Exactly. And then the third part is using these little needles to address whatever's going on the face. So what we usually do is we start with the largest wrinkles. So like on me, my largest wrinkles are right here,
Okay.
right? So that's where I would start on me if I was going to work on me. We also want to lift up the neck here, right? So we work along the jawline and
Wow, you
lift
can do all
of
this?
this. Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
amazing. And then like on me, we would work here. And then for some people, it's more their eyes.
Okay.
And so you use a 6 millimeter needle on the large, on the deeper wrinkles. And then as they start to fill in, then you use smaller and smaller needles until you
Okay.
use the 4 millimeters, which are so
So,
so
and we're
small.
talking about over how many treatments?
So you should see results after the first treatment, right?
Oh, wow.
You should.
Okay.
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 And but it's not like a surgical facelift. It's not like, you go to Switzerland for 6 weeks and then you come back and
Right.
you're like this. It's not like that because it changes slowly over time. So
Okay.
people start saying things like, "Wow, you look really good," or
You look well rested.
"You look well
and-
rested," or something
Right.
like that. But so everything kind of lifts up, but it doesn't hold, right?
Okay.
And it starts to fade. Okay. So then you do it again.
Okay.
And then it starts to fade again. But what happens is the more you do it, the longer it holds.
So how many needles are you using in the face each time?
I use between 85 and 140.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Well,
you're-
yeah, because they're
okay.
so little.
Right.
And so it takes a while to do it. I mean,
Okay.
and I'm pretty fast, but it just takes time. So what we do is we thread these little tiny needles in all of these wrinkles.
These crevices. Okay.
So that they can start to migrate the collagen from where there's too much to where there's not enough.
Are you doing it in the crevice or on the outside of the crevice of the wrinkle?
Oh, that's a good question. In the crevice.
In the crevice. Okay. So
Yeah.
you want to stimulate the collagen to move
To
down.
move in.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So Virginia's protocol, I think, was something like 3 times a week for 3 weeks, 2 times a week for 4 weeks. It was something like that.
Okay.
What I found out in
That's a
the
tough-
real
that's a tough-
world
right.
where I was living was that, none of my patients would do that. Absolutely none of them. For one thing, it's pricey. And for another
Which is
thing,
busyness.
it's just people are too busy. They
Right.
can't come for, a 2 or 2.5 hour treatment 3 times a week. I mean, you just can't find the time. So because I didn't do that, it took a little longer for my treatments. I'm sure Virginia got faster results because her patients were able to come way more often. So I would usually see a patient once a week.
Okay.
And maybe twice a week for 2 weeks, and then once a week. And then I really encouraged the patient to help me, to tell me when they needed to come back because they were looking at their face every day and, they knew. So usually for my treatments, it took between 12 and 16 treatments.
Okay.
And then I would say to the person, come back in 6 months or come back every 6 months for a tune-up or something like that. And they know, they would look at their face and go, oh, I think I need to go back and see Susan.
And you really see
Yeah.
on yourself, you can see the difference.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, the ultimate credibility thing is when others start making comments. to you.
Exactly. Now, the one thing that Virginia cautioned us about was don't work on anyone who's had a surgical facelift.
Okay. And the
Because-
reason being?
Because surgical facelifts kind of mess up the channels and mess
Okay.
up the chee, and so it won't work. I took her advice for like 20 years. And then I had this woman come in and she just would not take no for an answer. And she had already had a facelift. At least, I mean, she'd had a lot of work done. And what I learned was it's true. It doesn't really work. And their skin, it doesn't behave. It doesn't, like when I was trying to do the lifting part, like I couldn't do it. It was very, very odd.
Does plastic surgery alter your ability to treat them with regular acupuncture in the face or wherever the plastic surgery has happened?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. No, I just had a patient.
Because you're still altering the channels, right?
Yesterday. Was it yesterday? No. Saturday. Yeah, a couple days ago. Who came in and had a really interesting comment. we ended up talking about plastic surgery. I don't know why, other than we had commented, like you mentioned in the intro, that like when I moved to Las Vegas, I was stunned
I
at
was
how
stunned
many
when I
people
moved
have plastic surgery. I mean, it's like everyone. And I mean, I was teaching in an acupuncture school, and I can't tell you how many of my students who were young, who had, you know, breast augmentation or reduction or,
Butt lifts they
butt
do now,
lifts. I mean, it was like everybody. It was really, really. This is a
It was shocking.
strange town for
Well,
plastic
it's turning
surgery.
into LA light, you know.
Yeah,
More
it
and
is.
more so every day.
So that was sort of shocking to me. So, some people want that, immediate, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille,
Mr. DeMille.
But I think a lot of people just want to look their best and don't want to go down the surgery
Well, how
route.
about the cost difference? It's got to be.
It's around $11,395.
That's all.
This typically covers only the surgeon's fees and does not include anesthesia,
Okay, so how much is anesthesia?
operating room facilities, and other
Right.
related expenses. The total price can vary widely, ranging from approximately $5,600 to over $50,000, depending on the types of procedures.
The average facelifts cost what, like $5,000 to $50,000 or something? Although you wouldn't let anybody.
Well, I mean, 5,000
don't
sounds
get that one.
like, sorry.
That's like the guy who operated on the Joker.
Right. Or somebody who got their, Chinese medicine degree in the mail or something. I don't.
But my point being that, so then there's the high cost,
Right.
of the surgery, the anesthesia, the operating room, and everything, compared to, what are you, 10% of that?
Well,
5% of that?
here, I can, let's see. So let's see, 10, it's 2,500.
Give us the high. Give us the
2,500, 35. About start to finish, about $4,000.
Okay, so you're talking about 10 to 15% of what the surgery costs.
Yeah.
So to get similar results, in my opinion, from what I've seen of it, more naturally, right? Are there any downsides to this?
Well, people have to follow up.
Okay, well, that's not a downside, but there's no side effects. There's no. By doing this, so you cave in over here.
Yeah, no,
anything like that.
No, and there's no plastic surgery gone horribly wrong kind of problems. No, and there's also a lot of information on essential oils to follow up with, and how people can kind of extend the life of the facelift.
On that point, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
And tell us about skin. How should we be taking care of our skin, particularly our face, to minimize when we get there? I mean, is there anything different than what we've heard about not staying out of the sun and moisturizers? And I mean, how does Chinese medicine look at this? Or does Chinese medicine just look at skin aging as something that is natural and happens?
Well, as in many countries, not ours, they don't, for the most part, don't view aging as being a horrifying thing. Okay. And so, they don't have the culture of, eternal youth like we have here. I mean, we're all going to age. What's the alternative? I mean, it's either figure out how to age gracefully, or the alternative is death. So it's probably better than death, I would imagine. Of course, we don't know, but so there's that. But then the Chinese and in Asian cultures, they have loads and loads and loads of Chinese herbs that are good for the skin. Some of them, like one herb that they use a lot for skin products are pearls, like actual pearls, like ground up pearls. And they make a whole bunch of stuff out of that.
And all the zinc or whatnot in the.
And there's another herb called zashia, which is a purple herb, which one of my ex-students started making his own skin creams and stuff. And he gave me a sample of one, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to use this because zashia is purple. And so you put it on your face, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and your pillow is purple. So, there's a little issue there. But anyway, but they have their own, skincare industry, just like we do here.
Right.
Now, one of my students who graduated was an esthetician, and she, I never taught her how to do this procedure. That's interesting. But she is really focusing her practice that she just started on skincare.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah, and she took some really more advanced training in dermatology and stuff like that because she had a real interest in it. So, I think that's kind of a cool niche, and that she's really well suited to fill. So I wish her the best. I think.
Do
hope
you,
it's
do
going
you
well.
use this Virginia Duran procedure for anything other than collagen filling?
It's a good.
Do you only do it in the
question.
face? Can you do it anywhere?
Well, like where?
Well, like on a saggy butt, or we all complain about our
Oh.
cottage cheese thighs, or like, can you do anything about like anywhere else on the body?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any reason why you couldn't.
Okay.
I will say nobody's ever asked me.
Okay. I'm just throwing
Um,
crazy stuff out there. As is
that
my
might be
job.
kind of an interesting thing to investigate. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm thinking about that now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go duck.
Yeah. So, anyway, so you should see results right away.
Okay.
The treatments are going to cost more because they take a lot of time.
A lot of time, a lot of needles and everything.
A
Right.
lot of supplies, and those needles are expensive. So
Are you
so there's
sitting
that.
there with these 100 needles in your face longer than a normal acupuncture treatment?
That's how I do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I usually have them sit for like 45 minutes,
Okay.
which is a long time.
Right.
Now, how long do people usually sit with needles in? It really depends on the state of your health and your age. So the kind of the rule of thumb, or what you learn, is that like if you treat kids, and I rarely, if ever, treat kids are like little bundles of yang, and so you just boom, like you put the needles in, they're done.
Right.
They're like immediately done. Whereas old people, like somebody in their 90s, they don't have a whole lot of chi, so you have to leave the needles in longer, and you have to kind of encourage the chi that they do have to come up and meet the needle, so that they might have to sit with the needles for 45 minutes. An
Okay,
old
so in that
person.
regard, age could matter in doing
Yeah.
this procedure, but you could do it on a 90-year-old as
Absolutely.
much as a 60-year-old. Okay.
Well, yeah, there's way more work to be done on a 90-year-old.
Right.
Then-
But it will still work. The collagen will still fill
Yeah.
in, and the wrinkle will
Now,
rise. And,
I did have a failure when I worked on the woman who had the facelift.
Okay.
And it quickly became clear that this was not going to work. And the other person that I ended up not treating, or kind of saying, no, I'm not going to treat you, was a woman who came to see me for this procedure. And she was a fisherman. And she, basically was in her mid 50s. And she looked like she was about 100 years old.
from the sun. Yeah.
She had never taken care of her skin. She had never used anything on her skin except soap. And she had her skin was so damaged, and she was incredible. She had more wrinkles. I mean, she had wrinkles like I've never seen on anybody of any age. And I just thought, unless you're going to like get serious about this and start taking care of your skin, I don't see any point to it. And she kind of looked at me like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean take care of my skin?" Like, I mean, it was completely out of her
Right.
out of her
Or her
realm.
lexicon, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just was like, I mean, I don't think this is really going to work.
Okay, so but along those same lines, what about people what about sun worshipers? Are they going to have, if I go and start baking in the sun after you do this to me, it's going to be less successful?
Well,
or
yeah,
will
I mean,
it
but
work
that,
less?
I mean, don't we,
length of time?
haven't we learned that baking in the sun is stupid?
Right, but all you do is so people out and bake it in the sun in the summer. So
Well, I mean,
the people are doing it still en masse. So maybe covering up more and wearing more
right,
sunscreen
and wearing
whatnot, but-
a significant sunscreen, and I mean, the way I look at it is you're protecting your investment,
Right,
You invested
right.
this money in your health and in your appearance. Take care of it, whatever. So
Okay, but But tanning, which is, if I'm not mistaken, by dermatologists considered skin damage, that's going to lessen or shorten how long each of your treatments last, or the 5 to 7 year thing, or
I would say that's probably true. I don't know if it's ever been, technically documented,
Right, right.
or researched or studied or anything like that. I don't know really how we could do that. There might be a way, but yeah, I mean, I just look at it as, you paid for this, protect it.
So now going way back to how Virginia, does this all come from, what was she basing this on? Is there something in the he wrote and then he wrote and then he wrote histories that you tell us about? Do you know
Yeah, no,
where
I
this
mean,
comes from? Or is
I
she just
mean,
made that?
I think she made it up.
So, but that's part of the ability of this practice, this medicine, as you've taught us over the months, that you can keep on adding on to it
Oh
as
yeah.
time goes on.
Oh
And
yeah.
here you have
I mean,
somebody doing it.
compared to what my dermatology teacher showed us when I was in school, I mean, she's like light years away from him. And she had a very high-end clientele in Manhattan, many of them in the theater, who, had to look their best. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think she also worked on Cher
Oh,
back in the day.
yeah,
Of course, Cher went the surgical route as yeah.
right.
But yeah, so she was working with a dermatologist. She had, a real interest in this, and she came up with this technique based on how Chinese medicine really works. And she just applied it in a different way, and that's why I always found her so interesting.
What about other facial issues? People with scars, people with acne, pockmarks from when they were young. And is this a different type of treatment you do, or do you use a similar treatment? Or?
Yes. So there are treatments for scars,
Okay.
and that can help make them smaller and softer.
Okay.
And then, so the other thing that we typically see on people's faces is Bell's palsy. Sometimes we see an enormous amount of it. And
which is what again, please?
that is a paralysis
Okay.
of the facial nerve, which is responsible for, all of our movements of our face. So people have one side of their face that is parallel.
And how does that happen?
Paralyzed. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that Bell's palsy can happen, but in Chinese medicine, and honestly, I think there's something to it in Western medicine too. We look upon that, we call it an attack by wind.
Okay.
And honestly, every patient I've ever seen with Bell's palsy has some story to tell about wind.
Huh.
That they were driving in a convertible with the top down, that they were skiing, that they were out in a windstorm, that they were sitting at their desk with a freezing cold air conditioner blowing on their face. I mean, it just it just seems so common. So wind it makes things that shake,
Okay.
like the leaves on a tree.
Okay.
Wind it makes is asymmetrical. Wind comes on really, really fast, which is what happens with Bell's palsy.
Okay.
So,
and what's the permanency of it?
well, acupuncture is really good for helping to resolve Bell's palsy really fast, especially if you can get in right away. I mean, I had somebody show up who had Bell's palsy 20 years ago, and I was like, there's nothing I can do. Now, it does resolve partially on its own usually. There's some, some people have a really good resolution, some people have a pretty bad resolution, so it's really different, really depends on the person. But acupuncture is really good at helping people recover from Bell's palsy much faster. It works. My personal opinion, and
please.
My personal opinion is I think it's a virus.
Oh, okay.
Because, and what I base this on is I won't have any patients with Bell's palsy, and then I'll have 6.
Huh.
And it's like, what? Like, did you people all know each other? Like, what's going on? Like, all of a sudden, I'll have like a mass of Bell's palsy patients, and then boop, not for years, and then boop, here they're back. So that's kind of what I thought.
Okay, back to our facial topic. Are there any areas of the face that are harder to do than the other? Like, are the eyes tougher than the lips or the nose or the
most
forehead?
painful and uncomfortable to get is right around here.
Okay.
That's the part that I usually don't start there. I usually, because people get, you
And
know.
what about around the eyes?
Yeah,
though? That's gotta
because
be
the
fun.
skin can be pretty thin, so you
Yeah.
have to use little tiny needles. Oh, and then the other thing that I tell people, first off, right away, you're going to get a bruise.
Okay.
You're going to get a bruise. You're going to get a bruise somewhere.
So don't
I'm
call
putting
me
in,
and say, you bruised me.
I tell them every time, I'm going to give you a bruise. You know, there's all these microscopic capillaries on your face. The odds of me hitting one are pretty high, and so just know you're going to get a bruise. That way, if they don't get a bruise, they're really happy, and if they do get a bruise, they're like, "Oh yeah, well she told me I was going to get a bruise." Yeah. That was the other thing. So I usually have them, and this isn't a Chinese medicine herb, but it works really well. It's Arnica montana,
Okay.
and it's for bruising. So I usually have them start off like at least a week or two before they come to start taking Arnica montana. There's also a Chinese herb called Yunnan Baiyao, which is also really good for bruising, and another one called Shishin,
Okay.
Radix nota ginseng, which is also really good for bruising. And I usually have them start something like that ahead of time and then take it right through the whole procedure just to cut down on the possibility of bruising.
Can you do anything about saggy bags under the eyes, or what about people who have saggy eyelids that often they get surgery for and whatnot?
Yeah.
So
We lift all that
is
stuff.
that different from the cosmetic procedure?
Nope.
So you're using they're using
Right.
So are you in any instances are you taking collagen out or away, or are you just always redistributing?
Redistributing what's already there.
So then what are you doing? What are you doing when 'cause it would seem if like if I have droopy eyelids, which you get as you get older,
It's
then
the same lifting. It's the same lifting technique. Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Okay, because
So
that looks like then you've got too much of the skin's folding over, but somewhere in there you've got the deficiencies, right? That
You've got the deficiencies and the excesses.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So when we want to smooth those out.
Okay, what about the neck? That's another common facelift. So you're using that procedure as opposed to your regular procedure.
Yes. And so what I do at every treatment is I have the patient sit in front of a mirror.
Okay.
And now my office is kind of small, but when I had a bigger office, I could bring in like a cosmetic mirror, right? So that the patient could look at themselves, and then we would take notes, like what are the areas that we want to focus on. And now, so everybody's different. Like some people's concern might be their mouth, or some people's concern might be their eyes, or some people's concern might be their neck. Who knows? So we devise a treatment plan based on what the patient sees when it doesn't matter what I think of their face. It matters what they think of their face. Let's see.
And I imagine you're doing before and after photos of every treatment so you can really see the progression. No.
Well, Virginia said don't do that. And the reason she said that, and it is valid, I think, is that medical photography is a real specialty, and that in order for the photographs to really be accurate, you would have to have exactly the same lighting, exactly the same distance from the face.
So you'd have to have like a photo, but like a DMV photo booth.
You would need to really be good at it. And I don't think going click with a cell phone is good enough.
No, you got a different environment every time.
Right. So I leave that up to the patient. Okay. They can do whatever they want. The other thing that I had a lot of good success with, using the techniques of the facial rejuvenation. That's what Virginia Durand called it. Facial
rejuvenation. Okay.
Luminous Beauty. I think that's her website. Anyway, I did have a patient come in, and again, I had never seen this before until I moved to Las Vegas, where apparently there are people without much training who are allowed to inject fillers into people's faces. Okay. There's actually a woman in my office suite where my office is, who, I don't know, sells insurance or something, but she does these
she does fillers.
And she gave me a pamphlet, and I looked for her education, and there was nothing. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. But a few years ago, I had this beautiful woman come in, but her face was all asymmetrical because she had gone someplace and they had done all these injections of fillers, and it was all lopsided.
So what do you do about that?
Well, I use some of the techniques for the facial rejuvenation or the cosmetic surgery um,
From Virginia.
from
yeah.
Virginia. I also open up the channels and
Right.
follow the energetic channels of the skin because I'm not working on the wrinkles, right? I'm
No, there you're
working
working
on something else.
the organ damage or
Right.
whatever.
So I follow the channels themselves. And then the other thing was I used a technique called gua sha, which is something I actually taught the patient to do herself. So I printed out a picture of where the channels run on the face.
Okay.
And gua sha is just called scraping in Chinese. I use a soup spoon.
Okay.
You can buy a very expensive jade gua sha tool, but you can use a soup spoon and it's exactly the same thing, or a quarter, or whatever. And you just scrape it on the skin really rapidly, and it kind of breaks things up and kind of moves things around. And I found that gua sha was very helpful with this particular patient that had the fillers that were all weird.
So
all over her
what's
face.
happening with that from the Chinese medicine perspective when you see that? Like what's
The fillers?
the fillers and the injection, the face the face and the organs are reacting
It's
poorly?
a channel obstruction.
Okay.
Somebody put something in their energetic channels of their face, and it obstructed the chi and blood that flow in the channels normally.
Okay.
So we got to get it out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can tell that and feel that in your diagnosis.
Yeah, and it
everything.
worked. you know.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Oh, the other thing that I've added in my practice is red light therapy, which is
Okay.
completely different than Chinese medicine.
Okay.
But I found that, and what they say is red light therapy tends to promote the production of collagen
Yeah, I
in the
know
skin.
it's FDA approved in the
Yeah,
US,
and it
yeah.
actually does. So I have a little red light therapy machine
Okay.
that I use for people, and people seem to really like it. It seems to make a difference. Again, it's not something that you have 20 minutes of red light therapy and then you look in the mirror and, oh my God, my face is all different. But
Right.
over the course of time, I think I read an article that said something like you need at least 30 20-minute sessions before you really start to notice a change.
So for people who are doing this with you and spending $3,000 to $4,000 to do this, so what do you tell them after each treatment about care for themselves, and then what's the general care after they're done with the
Well, they have to have,
treatments?
for me, they have to have a skincare plan,
Okay.
right? They can't be like the poor fisherman who had never taken care of her skin in her
Right,
whole
just
life.
do this and then I'll see you again in 5 years with
Right,
nothing in between.
right, no. So I really encourage people to, go to an esthetician, have facials once in a while, use good products on their face.
It's okay. I wasn't going to drink out of that cup anyways,
Well,
Joel.
yeah, okay, okay. I got distracted. Okay, so so I want them to have a skin care plan.
Okay.
I want them to take their Arnica montana
Yep.
or Unibaidao or some other herb for bruising.
Yeah, so how long does that last? You say you're going to bruise the person. So is that like for a couple days? Just like minor bruising?
I just tell them to take it through the whole course of treatment.
Oh, okay.
And then they can stop when the treatment's over because, I really don't want to give somebody a bruise, but it's practically impossible not to.
Right.
So so there's that. And so and then follow up. And I leave it up to them. Like Virginia was way more, sort
Regimented
of
about it, yeah.
regimented, but she had success. So it's not like I'm not criticizing her at all. But I tend to leave it more up to the patient. Like, if you look in the mirror some morning and you go, I think I need a tune-up, then, come on in and see me.
Is there anything environmentally or change of season or whatnot that's going to affect it or impact it positively or negatively? And not just you're performing the procedure, but how long it lasts or how it affects my face? Or
Well,
does heat matter? Does humidity matter? Does anything?
Humidity is much better for the skin than dryness,
Okay.
right? So like this climate here in the Mojave Desert is just brutal on people's skin. It's really hard to take care of your skin when it's 115
Does it make it harder though for these collagen crevices to take what you're doing?
I don't think it really affects the collagen. It does affect people's hydration, which is
Right,
also
right.
very important
Right.
for your skin, right? It's harder to stay hydrated here than it is in like Seattle, and so there's a few pieces that have to be kind of adhered to, hydration, something for the bruising, skincare regime, all that stuff.
Do you have a age limit where you begin? Like you won't do this on a 30-year-old or anything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I've had people come in and I'm like, you know what? Come back in 20 years. Okay. I'll see you in 20 years. Yeah.
And why is that? Just
because they look
don't need
good.
it?
Then there's
Right.
nothing to work on. I'm like, really? You know, you've got this one little thing like right here and you want to pay me $4,000 to get rid of that? Like, what are you, crazy? You look great.
But what about somebody who is younger, but like some people have like extreme forehead, creases or whatnot. Like you can minimize some of that with this.
And if it's only part of their face,
Right,
it doesn't.
right.
You don't need the whole 15 sessions.
Right.
So
Wow.
sometimes I can throw stuff in.
Okay.
Yeah,
but the bottom line is take good care of your skin and
take
your
good care of your
face
skin and your face. The hair and the nails are considered the odds and ends of the blood and are also kind of related to the skin. So in Chinese medicine, for example, a lot of women have something called blood deficiency, which is not really your blood exactly. But anyway, blood deficiency tends to promote or tends to be or result in dryness. So I'll also do like a nutritional, I don't want to say counseling, but I have nutritional plans of how people can maybe alter their diets a little bit that will help with their underlying constitutional issues that will also reflect well on the skin.
Okay. Is there anything else that we've not discussed on this topic for facial rejuvenation that anybody needs to know? That what to expect? What?
No, I don't think so. It's like a regular acupuncture treatment in that it's extremely relaxing and people fall asleep all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay. Well, before you go and consider going under the knife and with the anesthesia and the surgery and the operating room and the hospital and the recovery and everything, there are other options like what you've seen here. And this is something that is not as commonplace in acupuncture. I mean, Susan's specifically trained in this, and as she said, there's only a segment of the acupuncture community trained in this. So I suggest if it's something that if you're a little older and considering looking at plastic surgery before you do, take a look at what Susan does with facial rejuvenation. It's really remarkable when you see the results of what it does and the changes it does make without having to go under the knife. Anyways, that'll do it for today. I'm Scott. This is the In Medicine and On Medicine podcast. As always, this is Susan Wellman. She is an Oriental medicine doctor and East Asian medical practitioner here in the Las Vegas, Nevada Valley. Sonny, please don't destroy my only last good piece of furniture. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Susan's email has come across the screen every so often, so you may get in touch with her and make an appointment to come and see her for this facial rejuvenation. Wow, it's really fascinating stuff like that. The way you look at it and the whole collagen thing. I love learning about this stuff. So anyways, this is the In Medicine and On Medicine podcast. You've seen all these animals coming and going.
We've got Leo.
Leo is the black flat hair. Marty is the gray wired hair who had to get shaved yesterday because they were running around chasing the ball and he was kicking up all these, I guess they were grass seeds, and in his long hair, they were all stuck and we couldn't get them out.
Oh, there were hundreds.
Hundreds. And so after the groomer, he went. Joel, the kitty cat, you saw coming onto the scene, and Sonny was just destroying the sofa. So it's all in the family here at the In Medicine and On Medicine podcast. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.